welcome to Get on the Ark. I'm here with Amy Evans. Amy is Tram's mother and the secretary of the Tram Evans North Star Foundation. And I'm really grateful to have you here, Amy. And I know it's a tragic story, but there's also faith and courage, for you to share it and to keep that North Star lit, right? For Tram. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Tram and the journey that he was on, and then what happened.
Okay. So Tram, he started drinking early. He was the youngest of three. He told me once he got drunk first when he was 13 years old with some friends of his up here in our summer place in Maine. I think he had a genetic predisposition. It was pretty heavy on in the family, and around it, and I do think he was part of that whole pandemic problem, where during the pandemic people really upped their drinking, and he was in a frat, Anyways, at some point, I think he was about 22 or 23, we really started being concerned that he was struggling with alcohol. He would disappear on us. And at some juncture, he disappeared. I found him up here in Maine and discovered that he really, really was addicted, was really having terrible problems. And through some good advice, unbeknownst to me, I did not realize that you need to be careful when you're withdrawing from alcohol or you can die. So with this good advice, I was able to get him into detox. And that was March of 2021. And from there, rather than going into rehab, he decided to hike the Appalachian Trail, which he did succeed. He did a full through hike, which is very actually rare for people. I think it's very, like maybe 25% of people that start it finish it. He became very spiritual on his hike. He would talk to me about how he feels like he has a good relationship with God now. He told me why he believed in Christianity, that it was forgiving. At any rate, he was sober for a good 2.2 months, 2 years, 2 months. And then he relapsed. And it was like falling off a cliff. And because I really believe he had this genetic component that some people have, not everyone, but some people. And he fell into that. And again, he did seek out his friend to help him. He was having seizures the first night, but then she said, he got to the point where they went off hiking and they went for a camp out. On day 4, he convinced her to drop him off at the Joshua Tree National Park. They prepped for it. They put out water because it's a desert. They put out water caches. They got him the necessary hiking equipment. They got him. I mean, they really prepped for this, but he also thought he was far enough along in his detox that all he needed was a little vodka and he'd finish this process on his own. So he went off to the park into the desert all alone. And I think he just miscalculated, because when we found his remains 9 months later, they finally found him. His journal documented that he was having seizures and he thought he was dying. And so that's what spurred us on to start this foundation, because it dawned on us so many people don't know that you can die from alcohol withdrawal. You can die from withdrawing from benzodiazepines like Xanax, like Ativan. You can die from barbiturates. Those are the 3 things you can die from when you try to withdraw. And the more I talked to people, they were like, "Oh, I thought you could die from heroin withdrawal." No. You can die from overdosing, which is what happens. They're going through withdrawal and they're like, "Oh my God, this is too hard." And they go back to using and then they die from overdose. But the 3 that I just mentioned, alcohol, benzodiazepines, and barbiturates, those are the ones. So our mission is to provide education and support for anyone that's struggling with alcohol use disorder or alcohol withdrawal, and to really educate the general public so that if you have a friend that's trying to get sober, don't let them do it alone. Don't let them go hiking alone. If you yourself are trying to get sober and you're having what they call the DTs, delirium tremens, seizures, high blood pressure, any kind of hallucinations, that's a clear indication that you're not going to be able to do this alone. You need medical intervention. You're going to need help getting through this. So I have all sorts of statistics, but we have our website. We're trying to educate through the website for the general public. And we're going to also put it up on social media and the YouTube videos, all about what's going on in the brain, the science of why people get addicted and why trying to withdraw is so dangerous. What's going on at the brain level, the science. And hopefully with more education, people will not make the same mistake Tram made. Because I do believe wholeheartedly he wanted to get sober. He just miscalculated.
So Amy, tell us about this. I'm going to pop the website up so you can walk us through a little bit about the website. And and I've got it up here. It's TENSFoundation.org. And TENS is Trans Evans North Star Foundation, right? So yeah. The North Star, tell us a little bit about the name.
So frequently, and it will eventually get on the website. We just haven't gotten a good enough picture yet, but he wrote frequently in both his journal and in his notes on his phone and in discussions with friends that he really believed in the North Star. He was a sailor, and sailors use it for navigation. And in one, I don't have it off the top of my head, but in his journal, he talks about that the North Star guides sailors home. It helps people find their way home. And so for that reason, we thought, what a perfect name for his foundation. And as I said, he firmly believed that he wanted to be able to help people find their way. And anyways, that's where the name came up, Tram Evans North Star Foundation, because he really believed that the North Star is this long-standing navigational tool to help bring sailors home. And he thought it was just a great concept, I guess, is the way I would describe it. So he refers to it a lot in various writings. He journaled a lot.
Well, so prior to this, this tragedy happening, what was your awareness of alcohol and kids and what, like, where were you at before? Sometimes tragedy brings light to things that we put blinders on.
Absolutely. I think that's one of my biggest pushes for wanting to educate the general public. I was your typical mom. I was like, he was my third. I'd already been through it with my two older boys. Just kind of felt like, oh, well, it's a rite of passage, drinking, especially where we summer up here in Maine. Alcohol is, the thing, it's legal. It's a legal drug, so my parents, I can remember, oh, let's pop a bottle of champagne and we'll drink. And, it was just such a social part of our life up here. And I knew of problems in our family. I knew my father-in-law, there were issues, but I still just didn't think it was something that was that big of a deal. Like, I just thought, it's just something you kind of move through and then you grow up. But after the instance where he disappeared and we found him and I realized he was really addicted, I started getting a little more, I started educating myself more. But even then, other family members really didn't think it was that big a deal. It was kind of me. Like, I stopped drinking because I wanted to be able to support him when, have a safe place to hang out with me because I wasn't drinking. But, it just, I just think no one really fully understood his level of use disorder. I just don't think they understood. And I in a million years never thought he would die from this. I really didn't. I knew he'd probably relapse, and I figured we'd have to put him in rehab and we'd like work through it. Never understood that he could die from this. And now I do. So you can imagine I am very educated on it now because I wasn't. And I wish I wish I had been. I wish I'd known more about it so badly, or I wouldn't have been as casual about it. And as I've journeyed through this, I will tell you this, the fact that I'm so honest about this with people, they're coming out of the woodworks. It's 1 degree of separation. Every single person I know has somebody, some loved one or some relative of a loved one who will tell me a story. My brother died from complications, or my mother died. And I mean, honestly, with Tram, we'll never know for sure because by the time they found his remains, the coroner couldn't tell us for sure. But I'm hearing that too. I'm hearing people say, yeah, we found my loved one and I don't know exactly how they died, just know it had to do with alcohol. I mean, I've read that 40% of all ER visits are somehow connected to alcohol, whether it's an accident, whether it's overdosing, whether it's withdrawal. I've also heard that ER doctors, if they had a waiting room full of people trying to withdraw, say they had someone heroin, someone opioid, someone alcohol goes to the front of the line. They get to go to the front of the line. Doesn't matter if the heroin addict is throwing up because they know how deadly it is. So I'm learning so much, and I really hope our foundation and our website and our educational videos will help other people understand this so that they don't live my tragedy.
It's scary knowing that, so I lost my brother when he was 21. He overdosed, and he was out partying with friends, and something was in the pills or whatever that they were sharing, and his heart blew up. And it's a tragedy to lose somebody out of order. It's a tragedy to lose anyone, but
out of order. You're right.
Out of order.
Right. That is the key.
But the amazing thing, and I'm sure you've experienced it because you just shared it. It's we're not alone. Like there's so many. This is happening all over the country, all over the world. Like this is an epidemic. I mean, it's not good. But the awareness, I think,
I truly believe it's evil. It's like the work of evil, and I feel like, I know we talked about this before we went live, but it's God's or the higher authority, or however you want to describe it, the angels guiding me to try to bring some help to people to fight this evil, to fight it, just fight it. Alcohol makes me so mad right now. I still don't drink, and I used to love my champagne, but I'm just so angry with alcohol. I feel like it was evil working on our lives and destroying it. And so I'm hoping with the foundation we can really help people fight it so that it doesn't keep taking and destroying lives.
Right. And that the biggest lie that I ever told myself, we've been programmed that alcohol was, and you brought it up when we first got on the air, was, like that rite of passage, you become you get to start drinking, so you become an adult, now you can party, it's like, we've been programmed with commercials and media and movies and everything. And the biggest lie that I ever told myself, that drinking was fun. And I convinced myself, because that's what I was told was fun, like let's get crazy and, intoxicated. But, I've been sober almost 16 years now, and my life is filled with more joy and happiness and love. And it's not even the comparison is ridiculous. Most people don't see that. They don't realize that there's a world without alcohol. And it's
no, you're so right. You're so right. One of our challenges also, actually, this is more my son, Charlie, who's the president. He really wants to promote sober events. sober activities, sober bars, which are starting to happen. And I have noticed even in the last year, more and more, maybe it's because I just get bombarded on Instagram because I'm doing this thing, but all the alternative mocktails and NA beers and, you know, non-alcoholic wines and it makes me really happy. And I've noticed when I go to restaurants now, there's always a non-alcoholic beer option, which 5 years ago, you know, no. So, but it's still a battle. It really is. We had an event recently and we advertised it was going to be a sober event. And some people, you know, like stayed on their boat because they were going to drink, you know, it was like, okay. So it's still a battle. There's still some people that really don't think they're going to have fun unless they drink.
Yes. Yeah. And it's okay if someone does, but you have to realize that there's the other side too. You know, that there is an amazing life without alcohol.
I think so. I'm another like you. I pretty much stopped drinking when I discovered Tram's problem. I absolutely stopped drinking the day he went missing, you know, because I knew it was related to alcohol. We didn't know that he'd relapsed, unfortunately. That's the other thing that we probably should touch on and that we are trying to touch on in our foundation, but many foundations are already touching on. There's a really good one called Shatterproof that talks about this. The stigma of relapsing, the shame that people who relapse feel. They don't want to burden their loved one. Tram would not let his friend call us. He manipulated her and said, do not call them. So we didn't know. We did not know he'd relapse. If I'd known, I would have flown out there. And the first I found out was the day he didn't show up, that he was missing. And by then he was already dead. And so that stigma piece is another one that we need to get beyond. We need to, and I think if we explain that there is a scientific change that happens in the brain, it might make people more forgiving. So they don't think of him, oh, you know, that guy, he's a drunk, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there is a stigma. Oh, that drug addict. Oh, so-and-so's son is a drug addict. You know, that son is an all-American boy.
Yeah.
That grew up in a really nice family. You know, he's not like, but there's still a lot of stigma out there.
Yeah. But it's nothing, you know, once the drug or the alcohol gets in the system to someone that has that gene or that trait, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you know, it's you know, it's just like it creates this craving that's beats everything.
That's it. That's the very first video. Actually, if you go back to the website.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to play it, but okay. Go back to, you'll see video library. Do you see the link for the video library?
Video library.
It might be underneath. There it is. See, if you
struggle to see alcohol.
Oh, it's only 2 minutes. Let's play it.
If you have the ability, I don't know if they'll be back. I don't know. It's the very first. We have 2 videos, and all right, and then we're in the production phase of the rest of them. It's going to be completely different flavor because my nephew was doing the editing on this, and you'll see him at some point in this video. But he's off fighting fires in the wildlands. So he's not able to do our film production anymore. So I have another person who's doing it. My point of telling you this is that the first 2 videos will look like this. Okay. And then from there on, it's going to have a whole different look. It'll still be him, this young man, and it'll be my son. But anyways, just a little backstory here.
Okay. Well, and I'm not sure if the audio is set up. Did you hear it when I push play?
I did hear it, but I was afraid. I don't know. Let's try it. It might do that thing where it like it echoes. I don't know.
Is, which is a disease of the brain.
Welcome to our first video. We're here to learn and teach about the risks, dangers, problems, successes of overcoming substance abuse and addiction. My name's Doug Hamilton, and I'm here to introduce Ryan Delaney, clinical mental health therapist. I'll let him set the stage for this short series.
So as we come to understand addiction in the hopes of destigmatizing addiction, it's really important that we get a baseline foundation for what is the problem. Part of what is the problem becomes where does it come from, which I think we can review in future installment. But understanding the mechanisms that are at play, whether you're drinking 2 drinks once a week or 5 drinks a day, is really important because it all builds upon itself to create the problem known as addiction. And when we're talking about addiction as a disease, there's a lot of personal bias that gets wrapped up in it for people, because when we think of diseases, we're often comparing it to cancer or heart disease. A lot of people struggle to see alcoholism for what it really is, which is a disease of the brain. And again, a lot of the debate comes too around like if addiction is a disease, kind of where do you get it, which I think we can find a compelling narrative to help explore.
Be sure to check out the rest of our interview with Ryan and learn more about addiction as a disease. Tell us your stories in the comments or reach out to us directly at tensfoundation.org to better understand this condition and eliminate stigmas that keep people from getting the help they need.
So that's the very first video, and we're trying to keep them short so we don't lose our audience. And the next one, which will be posted hopefully in the next few days, actually, goes more into the science of how the neurons work, the receptors in the brain, without getting too like technical. And then from there, we're going to I think we're going to produce about 22 videos, short form,
Right.
that we can put up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the website. I would love it if we could have the success that the MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, had, where, when I was a teenager, we used to drive drunk. Like, it was stupid, right? Yeah. And I would say our youth today, they're pretty good. They have designated drivers. They have of course they have Uber, which helps. But my point is that I think that campaign really worked. I would like it where people really understand the science of what's going on, and that you cannot try to get sober alone, because you could die. That would be what I would really like to see.
Well, can you close us out with a little bit? Tell us about what's happening this Saturday.
Okay, so Tram went to high school at Episcopal High School in Jacksonville, and he had this amazing friend group. He was a surfer, so he had a lot of surfer friends. Anyways, they were all, many of them were following his being missing. And then, of course, when we found his remains, they wanted to know what was going on. And our memorial service was up here in Maine, and no one really could make it from Florida. Even the one guy that tried to make it, he got stranded in Pennsylvania, had to turn around and go back. So we decided to have an event to kind of kick off the TENS Foundation down there, and also give people a little bit of closure, because, they will be talking about Tram. It's a lot of his friend group, their parents. But what we're doing is we're going to have actually that morning we're having a paddle out. So if anyone wants to do that, that's going to be in Neptune Beach at 1902 Oceanfront. But that evening at 6:00, we're having a kickoff event. It'll be in Atlantic Beach. If anyone's interested, they should reach out to me through the tensfoundation.org. There would be a way that they can email me, and I can give them more details. But we're going to have a singer, and we're going to have, it's free. It's going to be catered. And it'll give us a chance to really explain what our foundation's mission is and what we're hoping to achieve, and start creating more awareness about what our mission is. So that'll be from 6 to 10 this Saturday, August 17th in Atlantic Beach. If someone is interested, they need to go to the website and send me an email. Okay. I don't really want to give this address to just everyone, because it should be, people that are really serious about coming.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm
Thank you.
excited that we can help support you in any way, and bring light to what this tragic event happened, and to start promoting the TENS Foundation. So I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you. I hope I'll get to see you.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah.
I heard. That's
Will you be there?
Of course.
Yeah. See me.
I'm flying down. I'm in Maine right now, but I'm flying down on Wednesday
Okay.
to get prep for it. And of course I'll be there. And both my sons will be there. My Jake and Charlie, they're Tram's older brothers. They will
Okay.
be there.
Great.
So,
Awesome.
absolutely. And a lot of his friends. And I think it'll be a joyous event. It's always a little sad for me.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, Tram, you should be here.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me. But I'm looking forward to it. And I hope that we can really increase the awareness and understanding of this horrible situation.
Yes.
That people just don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, though.
yes. Thank you. Thank you. And
All
I'll see
right.
you Friday. All right. And God bless you for watching.